McGreevey. How's your life? How's Jem? How's the lads doing?
Oh, not too bad at all, mate. All keeping me busy, to say the least. Between jobs in the house with Gemma and that, and the kids with the rugby and school being back and everything and all that. So, yeah, keeps me busy. But got a little week
And
away,
young.
so can't argue too much because our
Yeah.
anniversary. So, little
Oh,
few
nice.
days.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Cheers.
Right. So before we get stuck into your rugby story, mate, because obviously I know a fair bit about you anyway. Where was home for you, and who lived at home with you when you grew up?
Yeah, so home's always been in Widnes, never been anywhere else for me sins. Was in Egypt Street to start with as a baby. Then we were up in Sutton's Lane till I was about 11 or 12. Then up on Cowan Way. We lived most of me like formative years up there. So I was my mum and dad. Everybody at the Wids knows me dad. My little sister Corinne, and then a couple of dogs through the years as well. But it was always nice home life, nice family life, and support from everybody there. Like still living in each other's pockets now.
Yeah. Posh Cowan Way. That's a
Oh,
change from Egypt Street. No offence to anyone in
oh,
it.
100%. Yeah, it was a change. Even Sutton's Lane. Sutton's Lane was ropey. Like it was.
Where's that?
I would never knock it down by the no Lacey Street, the
Oh
fire
yeah.
station down the bottom end there,
All right.
just round the corner. Yeah, I wouldn't have changed it, like, but I wouldn't go back
Yeah.
there either. No offense.
Valid point. Yeah, yeah, valid point. So, how was you into, or what sport were you introduced to first? Or for viewers and listeners that don't know, you're Widnes fan, Everton, mate, aren't you? And
Yeah,
you'll go where you can when you can.
yeah. In all honesty, until I was about 13, I had no interest in sport whatsoever. Nothing.
Right.
It wasn't my thing. And my dad was good in terms of, obviously my dad had played rugby for years and had always been involved with it, but he never dragged us kicking and screaming to the club. A lot of kids are dragged there, and here you go, you're going to go and play this because I did, and you go on from there. But yeah, until I turned 13, at that point, then I was like, right, yeah, go in, I'll have a go at everything. Tried cricket, hockey, football, everything, but it was the rugby that stuck. Um, it it was the lads in school, in all honesty. So like Matt Lotnan, Matt Chambers, they were all in my form. Um, Dave Lightfoot, his dad was the coach of the age group at the time, Mike. So they were all on, oh, come and play, come and have a go. And then I did, and here I am 25 years later still playing.
Yeah. So, what was a young Kyle doing from junior school to middle of high school then?
Um, Not a lot, really. Quite a dull kid, I suppose. No, it was just like the usual kid stuff, playing out. You know what I mean? You're in the street with the kids
Like
from
upside down and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, it was in round on bikes, just doing daft stupid stuff. We spent a lot of time with family as well. My uncle used to run a social club in Liverpool, so my mum and dad did a lot of work in the bars and what have you with him. So we'd spend a lot of time with our cousins because they were a bit older than us. Like they'd look after us, and babysit us over weekends. So we'd spend a lot of time down there.
Right.
Which to be honest, it's through them where the like of Everton came from because my dad's a man. My dad's a Man United fan for him when he was knee high to a grasshopper.
In the womb. Yeah.
But then he ended up with me and our Corinne as two blues underneath. So
It's mad that, isn't it?
yeah, again, he said he was always one
Yeah.
about free choice and that, and kids will pick
Yeah.
what they want. But because we spent so much time with the three girls, like my three cousins and my uncle George, they're blue through and through. So
Right.
it was sort of just picked it up. I had no real
Yeah.
choice from it, I don't think, from their side.
So what had happened at the social club on like match day, mate? Would you be able to go in and watch
Yeah, we
Everton?
did. Yeah, it was great. So we'd go in, like you say, just sit at the end of the bar, keep your gob shut, and but yeah, no, it was
So
good. It was good seeing that adult life, if you like, as well, being exposed to it and understanding how the bars and that worked.
so junior school wise, where'd you go, mate?
I was St Bede's.
I
Yeah.
went up the bead. I went the beads. We're
Oh, did
posh,
you?
aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Upper class role
So
models.
so you'll remember when like there was no fence and it was like your goal was at the side church wall, wasn't it? And
Yeah,
people would
yeah,
just walk through your playground and that
yeah.
before you
Just
had to
people
worry
wandering
about
down.
anything.
Well,
Yeah.
remember, on the corner, there's like a big monumental grave, isn't there?
Mm.
Had the big green wrought iron fence around it. One of the
Yeah.
lads who, like one of my mates at the time, he was big unit, Andy Evans, and he was swinging on it, and he pulled the corner post off, and I think it's still missing now.
It was when I went.
Yeah, and it was because he was swinging on it. It just came away this big chunk of sandstone and cast iron. It was like, oh dear, leg it.
Claim to fame, that, innit?
Yeah, yeah. You see it now, and it's still missing. It's like I remember seeing that come off.
Yeah. No, it's mad, isn't it? It's like how many people went that you don't realise. So
Mm.
would you have not even played like for the school footy or rugby team?
I had a little blast of footy when we were
Yeah.
in junior school. In fact, where things life comes round to itself, Ando from the Wids,
Yeah.
Paul Anderson, they brought him in as the football coach when we were kids.
All
Believe it
right,
or
because
not.
so I went to school with his son.
Right, okay, yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
they brought him
I,
in. It was Miss. I can't remember the teacher's name. She, an older woman, had short hair, like a big like microphone head. But she brought him in because she knew him, and he come in to help with the coaching because she didn't have a clue. Which fair play to her, like. But yeah, that was probably the only real dabble I had with any sport. Let's say until I turned 13, and then it was like someone had flicked the switch, and it was like, right, now we go. It was couldn't get enough of any sport.
might have been a blessing that though, mate, because like you wouldn't have knew anyone from out of town. So like some lads would know like a another from Wigan or St Helens or Warrington
Yeah,
and sign a void or whatever, where you just like blank canvas, go and
yeah,
enjoy yourself in it.
fit into it and enjoy for what it is in front of you.
So when high school come round, mate, how did you find the transition with you not being part of like a club environment yet?
The transition wasn't too bad to high school because, if I remember rightly, from St Bede's, we were the biggest intake within our year. I think we made up like 30% of the year. So all the other schools were lower numbers. So we knew a hell of a lot of people anyway going in there. But then the lads and that came in from other schools and girls from other schools, generally we had a pretty good year. Every year's got a ratio of knobheads, to put it bluntly. Um, but we had a relatively low ratio of them. We didn't seem to have many knobs in the year. And the ones that were sort of kept in the place, if you like, because there was that many of the majority of the year, probably 95% of the year, were all decent people. And it did make a difference. I mean, like our Caringe year, 2 years behind us, that was just full of assholes. So it was a lot harder for her, going into school and then going through the 5 years. But with ours, it was a relative breeze, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
when you're around nicer people and everyone gets on with it, makes life a lot easier, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I imagine you probably noticed it more because, like you said, you're a couple of years older than Corinne, that
Mm-hmm.
you're maturing while these people are behaving like that. And you've had that environment where it's been calm and steady, people
Yeah,
put in the place. You're seeing a shift now, aren't you?
yeah. I mean, it's where you see the shift in how, I suppose, society is and all that as well, isn't it? And what you can and can't do with the kids and all that. Like, we had the headmaster, Mr. Glover. He was an ex-monk. And
Right.
Mr. Murphy. But they were both firm but fair. You know what I mean? Everyone knew where they stood, but they had no problems like physically getting older people if it was needed. I remember seeing
Yeah.
Glover get old. Remember Sean Loftus? Big
Yeah.
Lofty. He was messing about. He was only messing in the corridor, but Glover just snapped him, had him against the wall. Like that, right? Pack it in. I've told you now. That's it. So I think once they started leaving. Obviously, opinions, and methods change, don't they?
Yeah. So is that age group a bit older than you?
The likes of Lofty, yeah, they'd be
Yeah.
a couple of years older.
Right. So
Be
that's
about 3 years older.
Neil's year.
Yeah, yeah. He
Yeah.
will be. He'll be
So
Neil's
that's
year. So
our
he'll be
Becky's
a year
year. Yeah.
older. Yeah.
So when sport initially come round, mates, we'll talk about 7 and 8 because 13 like more 9, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
year 8 is
no,
year.
30.
Yeah.
Yeah, 13 doing year 9.
Right.
So
So what does sport or life outside of school look like for you between 7 and back end of year 8?
um,
Because you're ripping into PE at this point, mate, aren't you? Like having a
yeah,
go at
that's the thing.
stuff and that.
You're getting into it with
Yeah.
school, aren't you? Because you're driven into it and that. Which don't be wrong, I was never one of the kids who didn't like it. You know what I mean? I always thoroughly enjoyed it and getting into the sports and that. But just outside of school, it was just never. in my mindset. You know what I mean? Um, Again, it was similar stuff until all the way through from into high school, like you say, getting out and just seeing your mates out and about and playing with your friends. Like, I'd go and have a kick about with the lads, like a little bit of footy, play on Albrights as it was at the time, the Birchfield. We'd go and have a kick playing footy on there with the lads and everything. Like, and that was probably what most of it was then outside the school. It was just knocking about with the lads and playing footy, really. Yeah, that was about it, really. Quite a dull child, really.
Well, do you know what, mate? I don't find out up with that because without realising it, mate, you're living your childhood before school and life turns semi-serious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Without
Yeah.
knowing it at this point. Like, hindsight's a nice thing, innit, mate?
And I'd say I can't knock it with my mum and dad. Like I said, they were never the ones who, oh, you've got to be in this, you've got to be doing that, you've got to be doing the other. Because like I said, my dad, rugby had been part of my dad's life for a hell of a long time. He finished up through injury before I was born, I think. So I never ever saw him play. So that you lose that link as well. Whereas like with my two now, because I'm still playing, they come up watching me. So they've pestered to go to rugby almost, you know what I mean? Particularly Reese. Luke's only coming into his own with it now. But Reese is like, oh yeah, I want to be at the club, I want to be involved, I want to do this, I want to do that. Like I say, it's just different generations, isn't it? Different.
I suppose without being rude for Reese, because he's a bit of a unit, that helps, doesn't it?
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
It does. Where he'll settle, I don't know, but he's not been too bad at the size of him now. So he's only 8, but he's.
I was going to say, there's loads of time for him to find his place, isn't there?
Yeah.
He'll settle wherever he settles, man.
Yeah. He just loves it. He loves particularly running the ball, offensive play rather than defence. But he doesn't. He's not a tackle shirker, like, but he prefers having the ball in his hand and going at people. But again, like you say, the size counts for a lot with him.
So when he's a bit older and he watches or listens to this, stay out the front row.
Yeah. Oh, I think he'll be too tall for the front row. I think he'll be a second row, back row.
Yeah. So when I've seen him, he is like, without being rude, lanky, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, he's just short of my shoulder height.
All right. Okay. You're not small though.
No, I'm just short of 6 foot, and as I say, he's about 5 foot now, and size 5 shoe at 8 years of age.
You best stay there because it will start getting expensive, eh?
It already has. Trying to feed him and clothe him is a nightmare.
Yeah.
But
and your dad's a big boy, though, isn't he?
Yeah, well, my dad's 6'2" and probably 16, 17 stone at his fighting weight. Like,
so what's that boiler? Did he play in the boiler house? Did he?
My dad, yeah, back row majority of the time. Back row and then second row when needed. Angry ass.
He probably is going to be a back 5 player then, isn't he? Looking at how tall you are, and then your dad's a bit taller than you again.
Yeah, I just hope he keeps growing. Where I got to this size by the time I was 14, but then the break came on big time. Because my mum, when my dad's big, my mum's tiny. My mum's only 4'11", so it was like her genes kicked in overnight, and that was it. The growth stopped. So where they were looking at me, expected me to be like 6'6" or something. Didn't even break 6 foot. That was it. My dad was gutted. There goes the England player.
Yeah.
But if Reece
funny. So do you know when you weren't playing, mate? Was like, when did following Widnes come into your life? And
my dad used to take me to a match, to be honest with you, when I was younger. So I'd have probably been going back on what I said about sport now. I'd probably been about 7 or 8 when I was going to match. The old Naughton Park. So my granddad used to be involved down at the club. My dad's uncles and cousins and all them, they go to match and everything. So we'd go and see them at the weekend and what have you. But the fella who was part of the caretaking down at Naughton Park, put all the floodlights on and everything, was my Uncle Barry's mate. So he'd take us before the matches kicked off we'd switch all the floodlights on with him and stuff like that in the old ground. So,
you bet you were buzzing.
Oh yeah, 8 years of age, they're feeling like you're king of the world, sort of self-important that I put the lights on, and then you'd sit there with your feet over the wall at the front. Stewards come round, tell you to move your feet back, and then 2 minutes later you're back over the front again.
Nah, that's class, mate, isn't it? So do you think maybe you just weren't ready for sport up until probably high school, basically?
Yeah, it's just like you say, I certainly wasn't in the mindset for it. You know what I mean? And I think with a lot of sports, you've got to be in the mindset for it because you're not going to enjoy it otherwise.
Oh, you're gonna get hurt, mate.
Well, that's the other problem that comes
Yeah,
with it, isn't it?
yeah. Because there's nothing wrong with like lads and girls not really wanting to do it until they're ready. And you might never be ready, and that's fine. Like the sport doesn't work without players, but it doesn't work without speckies, does it?
100%. I mean, you look at it from players and different abilities and that. I mean, we see it with the kids now. We're coaching at Farmworth and then setting up, excuse me, at the Wids, the different levels in kids. And again, you'll have seen it when you were playing. There'll have been lads who were 15, 16 playing alongside you who look like absolute world beaters. And there was with
Yeah.
us. But as soon as they hit open age, they either lost interest or the rest of the game caught up with them. So where they were the standout player when they were younger, everybody has a peak to the game, don't they, at some point? And everyone who didn't really quite do it as a kid starts coming into their own 18, 19, 20, 21, and all of a sudden they're on a level playing field and they can't handle it.
Yeah.
Whereas your fourth quarter kids, the younger ones who've always had to do it tough, they come into their own then. And they're hard as nails normally. You're Rob Burrow types, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Little,
Yeah.
so he's always had to do it hard. So he could take the knocks as a player, and there'll be loads that you've played with at the
I
Wids
think
in the rugby league, and that the
yeah, I
same.
think clubs are better now though, mate, aren't they? Like, I think an example, and I'm sure he won't mind us because you know him as well, and he's a boss lad. I love him to bits, and that is Rob, innit?
Yeah.
Like the club probably blew smoke up his ass to a point where he felt invincible, and
Mm.
for a couple of years he virtually was. But
Yeah.
then the minute that he wasn't, he was sort of disregarded, wasn't he?
Makes a hell of a
And I
difference.
hope he's all right with us mentioning him because he is a boss lad. I love him to
Yeah.
bits. Like, I think he's quite open with it as well. Like, I think the clubs don't just throw you away anymore.
Yeah. There's more
They
you
like
get hold
filter
of
you
now,
out,
like you
don't
say.
they, and
Yeah.
keep an eye on you and help you out a little bit and look
Yeah.
for another club for you a lot of the time.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah,
I mean, you see it with, like you say, even amateur level, we've got to get more into that to allow players to filter up, filter down. I mean, look at how many players at the Wids from when you were in the first team who just retired like that. Gone. I can't play first team anymore. It's a push too much for me. But almost not allowed to drop down to the twos and threes because you can still do a job, you could still help, you could do a game in the first, but you lose them from the game then.
yeah. No, you do it, and the club suffers, mate, doesn't it?
100%. 100%. The club struggles.
And it's also nice for like lads that might never play like one's level, which
Yeah.
there's absolutely nothing up with.
Yeah.
Like if twos and threes and six and sevens are where you're at, that's where you're at. You're still playing. You still
Yeah.
got a
Rugby's
game.
rugby, isn't it? Yeah.
But how nice would it have been for like twos and threes to play with lads that have played that level?
Well, this is what I said. Like the second team, if you look at it, go back probably 10 years, maybe not quite that long. If you'd have took the likes of Sayoldo, Gaz Riley, Lammy, Winner, Andy O, and allowed them to drop into the twos, how much stronger your second team is. And then the young kids who are coming through at 18 have got some proper experience
Yeah,
alongside them to look after them. I mean, like you say, if you're an 18-year-old prop there and you're going into a scrum with another 18-year-old prop and an 18-year-old hooker, you're going to get eaten alive. But if you look along the line and you've got Wildy or Sayoldo the other side, then you feel a bit more
you'll be
confident
all
that you
right.
can get looked after.
Yeah,
And it does
yeah.
it does help because players will play above themselves then.
And
But
if nothing else, like depending on mentality, you want to replace them characters,
yeah,
and you're
you
only going to
absolutely
do that by outplaying them, and that's the perfect field to go and do it on, isn't it?
yeah, 100%.
I'll whack them in training, but that rarely happens because you don't. Not at the Wids, it never used to be like
Yeah,
a
you don't
mixed
get into that
session, did
level,
it?
do you? No, you
No,
never
it
got
was
into
like
that
if you
level
were
to
in the
take
two, you
them.
were a bit cannon fodder because we've all been there.
Yeah, tackle shield holders.
Basically, a human tackle bag, yeah, weren't you?
Yeah,
And then say you did do out good, it was like the ball was stuck off you because it weren't about you.
yeah. There's been a few like that over the years, hasn't there?
Yeah, mate, yeah. It must just be old mentality in it, hopefully.
Yeah, without a
So
shadow.
when rugby did come around, mate, how
Yeah.
how did it manifest itself to you to become a player?
Well, as I say, it was through. obviously at that time, Lockers, Chambers, Duffy, Dave Lightfoot, Paddy Nicklin, they were all in like my close group of mates from primary school into high school. And as I say, they were always saying, "Oh, we're playing at the weekend. We're this, we're that, we're the other. Come and have a go. Come and have a go." And I said, they pestered me for 2 years before I actually went, you know what? Yeah, come on, I'll have a go at that. Say Dave Lightfoot's dad was doing the coaching there at the time. So it was under 14s at the bit at the time when I went into that. And just never looked back. They stuck me out on the wing to try and learn the game a little bit. Just because obviously these kids like the likes of Lockers and Dave have been playing since they were 6. So even though it was into the technical side of it, they knew the game inside and out. I didn't have a clue what was going on with it, apart from get the ball and run forward. Bit Forrest Gump style, you know what I mean? Just go that way, you know, for the best.
Yeah.
But it worked well for me because it was quick, particularly when I was younger, but I was big as well. Right. So that said, at the age of 13, I'm on the wing at 12 stone, the height I am now. It was great. You go through cutting forwards to bits as a kid.
I'm a man child.
Yeah. So it worked well. And then because it was all right out there, just pretty much stayed there for forevermore then.
No, so, and did it allow you to learn the game, Kyle? Was you someone that would have picked someone's brains and stuff?
Yeah, a lot of it you're learning it, like you say, you learn on the run, don't you? You're learning it in the game itself, like you say, listening to the more experienced players, similar to our conversation there about dropping old heads down. The game itself on the wing, it's so different to any other position on the pitch, apart from the other wing and maybe fullback, because it's all about trying to read what's going to happen before it happens. So as you're in the right place, like rugby league, you can almost get your head down, just get on with it, run the ball in, tackle what runs at you, and never have to think about anything else really. Oh, right, it's the last tackle, right, I'll drop down now. But obviously out on the wing in rugby union, you've got to read what's going on and try and play chess, isn't it? You're trying to think 3 and 4 moves ahead.
Yeah.
So as you can be in the right place or give yourself the best chance to be in the right place. But again, I was playing alongside some really good players at the time, you know what I mean? So it does make it easier. Like Philip Glover was our standoff, Neil Barrett in the centres, Rob Critch, number 8. We had a good setup there, good lads, and like I say, from my point of view, they were experienced at the time as well because they played for so long.
Yeah. So do you remember your first game? Do you remember out about it or where it was out?
Yeah, my first game was away at Waterloo when they used to have the pitch behind the stand. Yeah. But first game, straight in, and scored within a few minutes of playing it, coming on, in off the wing, straight down the outside, and over the goal sort of thing. But yeah, I just remember it being in the shadow of the back of the stand at Waterloo. I was like, this big building next to me here, like. But
no, it's quite like for someone that's never really been to Ast, probably a bit of an intimidating place to go because of its history and its heritage and that.
Yeah, well, it can be without a shadow of a doubt. Like you say, you've seen plenty of players go there and crumble over the years up at the high levels when Waterloo were up the top. Yeah. I think they were one of the first pro clubs, weren't they? Waterloo, I think.
Was they?
I think I'm sure they were when they first
got rid of that pitch, mate. Now, haven't they? There's houses on that pitch.
Oh, the back one. Yeah, it's been houses for a few years now because you play down on the pitches down at when it's all dead sandy alongside the railway.
Is that where there's a bit of like a changing rooms and then there's just a big field around it?
Yeah, it's about half a mile away from the club, isn't it?
Yeah, it's miles away. I played there as kids and I was like, why don't we just play where they get changed? It's a bit mad, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a proper trek away, like.
Yeah. So what was the standard of playing for the Wids like compared to playing for school? And did you play both rugby union and rugby league at school?
School, no, it was all just rugby union. I've got something in the back of my mind that we did maybe have one league game, but it was more of a kids had pestered, so the staff sorted something out. But that's only a nagging memory, if you like. But obviously, rugby union was taught through as part of the school teaching, the curriculum, and that. So there was more understanding, more ability, more knowledge. So it was all union.
Between Bucko would have been there, wouldn't he?
Yeah, Bucko. The legend that he is, Bucko.
He is, yeah.
He's just a mad character when he was there. He was. I mean, the difference with that as well when we played the standards were pretty similar between club rugby and the school rugby. But one big difference was when you were playing the posh schools, your merchants, your eddies, all them sorts of lot, they were all very traditional rugby union, proper rah-rah boys. So like they're used to being tackled nice and low, and the hands were always free, and they'd play a free flowing offloading game, and it was lovely rugby to watch, but it never worked against us
It's not
because
real, is it?
no, well, our whole lineup, the majority of them had all played rugby league from being 5 and 6 years of age. So like we had Matty Riley, Ballsy, Mike Balls, 12 and 13. It's Dean Ash playing in the second row. So you were always up in the face of the opposition, and they didn't know how to deal with it. So we turned over some good schools when we were playing, like just because they didn't have no plan B about how to deal with that aggressive defense, if you like, using that as a weapon as opposed to a means to an end. But it did us well.
Yeah, and
We
I
got to a couple of
suppose,
finals.
yeah, you know, no different, mate, either, which is
No,
nice, isn't it?
yeah, it's just all what I'd always done alongside, again, learning on the run from the players you're playing with. Their rugby league background, you learn to play the game the same way as they do.
Yeah. So was there any Merseyside or Lancashire, mate? Was that ever an option for you?
Yeah, I had a couple of years playing for Merseyside, a few trials, obviously Lancashire being the primary, but was never quite good enough to make the cut for Lancashire. I wasn't
Yeah.
didn't have that ability. But yeah, I played for Merseyside for about 3 or 4 years. So it was good enough for me. Like I'm more than happy, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's still being picked up by someone, just not quite to the next level. Um,
Yeah. As a
but
kid, were you good with that?
yeah, do you know what I was? Because it's only when you sit back at it now and you look at it and go, well, Lancashire was a higher level, blah, blah, blah. You knew at the time it was a higher level, but you were still made up. You still got
Yeah.
given you presented with a jumper and a tie for representing them, and you still went away on the tournaments and that. Like one that we went on was up to Penrith, played up there. A freezing cold winter morning, but you know when it's freezing, but it's dead sunny.
Yeah.
One of them sort of days, ideal rugby weather.
Mm.
3 or 4 games up there. It was a couple of Lancashire players had dropped down as well at that point. I think Lancashire had finished, so there was a couple of them had dropped into the side with us, and
Well,
yeah,
so Merseyside done all that, yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Actually,
that's good.
it was
That
a good sort of setup. Like you can't knock the setup of it. It
you
wasn't.
didn't get that, you know.
Did you not?
No, so you didn't get. You just got like. Did you used to get a letter to say you've been asked to go?
Yeah,
Yeah, so you get your letter, wouldn't you? Which is like old school typewriter
yeah.
style letter, wasn't it?
All handwritten and all that through school.
Yeah, and then we got to go LSH to like training,
Yeah,
but that's where like pre-Lanc won it. It was like a selection
yeah.
process for Lancashire, really.
Well, that's where Merseyside tended to base themselves from after that.
Was
They-
it LSH?
Yeah, from LSH. I can't
Yeah.
remember the fella's name, the coach's name. He was there.
Jones.
No, it doesn't ring a
That's
bell.
who it was when I went, you know, the
Might
tall
say
guy.
it probably wouldn't even twig with me now. It's that long
He,
ago.
he had he had something to do with LSH at West Park. I think he used to chase a bit of money when he coached,
Yeah,
like a tall fella. Might even be Steve Jones, you know. Anyway, you go LSH, you do a bit of like absolute basics that we've been doing in rugby league since we come out of the womb.
yeah.
And then we went to Robin Park. It used to be called the Soccer Dome at Wigan.
Oh no, no, didn't go with that one.
Yeah, so we went there and we played like 2 games, and
Hmm.
then they asked you to go Lancashire from there. You didn't get no jumper or didn't
Yeah,
go on like little tournaments and that. So you had to like you probably had it when it was really valued.
yeah. Well, like I say, I've still got the jumper somewhere in the loft. So it's like
What's
like a blue
class that?
school jumper almost, but with the
Was it?
Merseyside crest on it and a tie to go
Yeah,
with it and stuff. So, like you say, you were made to feel part of something. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So it
Oh,
was
I
good.
like that.
Good setup.
Yeah. And did many Wids lads get on that, Kyle?
Um, yeah, I think there was. I mean, at that point, it was that transition where they took the representative away from the clubs and put it into the schools. So it was
Okay.
more school driven at that point.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of the lads who played at the Wades more went to Lancashire
Right.
rather than Merseyside. So there's a few lads from the schools who were in the Merseyside setup, but I say the majority of the lads who played at the club were in the Lancs setup.
Would you have said that you were a bit of a timid kid then, mate?
Um, Yeah, I
So
probably
what
wouldn't
is
have pushed
that
myself too
environment like
much.
then? You know, like you put what was that? Sorry, Carl.
I wouldn't have pushed myself too much having that. Like
Yeah.
the players who go on and make it, like Ramo, Pete Ramanowski when we were playing as kids, he was in his mind, I am going to be a pro rugby player. And that was
Right.
it from when he was a kid onwards, you know what I mean? So he had the real drive in himself to do it. Because I was only learning it, not as pushy about where I wanted to be with the rugby. Like you say, you can get sort of carried along a little bit
You
rather than
enjoyed it. You weren't obsessed
living it.
with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Whereas there's some out there who are really focused and driven in what
Yeah.
they want to do. So that makes a difference to where you'd end up with it. But I was a
So
kid who sort of pretty similar to I am now. You just take things in your stride, like you
yeah,
said.
because you're a chilled fella, like. So what would a new environment have done to a young you? So say like not many Wigs lads were at that camp. How would you have settled?
That side of it, that wouldn't have bothered me in the slightest. I'm that sort of lad, and I've always been the same from being in school to how I am now. Like I could take myself to the pub for a pint, and I'd end up talking to someone just because that's how I am. I'm one of them. I'm that annoying fella in the pub.
But you've been able to do that from a kid though, because that's quite a
Yeah,
that's a gift that mate. Like I couldn't do that.
yeah. I was always not. It wasn't like a confidence where I would just walk up and yeah, I'm me and here I am. It was just you just strike up a conversation. You just start talking to people, and some people liked it and carried on the conversation with you, and then other people didn't, and they moved away. You know what I mean? And that's sort of how it was. So being isolated from my own mates and stuff didn't particularly bother me so much.
Right.
But obviously, the more of your mates that are there, the more comfortable you do feel on
Yeah.
the other side of it. So
Yeah.
it's that in between. You know what I mean? It
Right.
didn't phase me,
Yeah.
but obviously, the more people you know, the more comfortable you are.
No, I like the fact, mate, that you could go and do that. Like I'd have been really like withdrawn and that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you wouldn't think it because I've knackered your head off in it, and this is what I do as a hobby now. But yeah, it as a kid, mate. I weren't good. Like I weren't like happy in myself to go into something like that.
It's a
I
lot of
was too
learning
busy
and growing
shitting
up, though,
myself
isn't it?
anyway. Exactly that, mate. Yeah, yeah.
You mature
Just
and you
about
get to the point where
controlling
you know
yourself.
what does matter to be bothered about,
Yeah,
what doesn't. And like you say, it takes a long time to get used to that, doesn't it? And
yeah.
mature into it.
So, what sort of student was you, mate? Did you enjoy school?
Yeah, I did. I've always enjoyed learning. So, as I say, through school, I always achieved pretty well. I was a good all rounder, really. So, like I say, obviously, you get the stereotypical, you get your nerds who are superstars in science and maths, but they wouldn't know what to do with a ball if you
Yeah,
take it to their hand and show them what to do. And then you've got lads the opposite end, the superstars at sport, but haven't got a clue anything academically. But I was pretty good across the board, really. Not blowing smoke up my own ass, like, but I had the academic side of it, and I had a little bit of ability and drive with the sport then as well. Didn't look out of place anyway. I
yeah.
don't think.
So what was a young Kyle's idea of what he wanted to do leaving school?
When I was about 15, 16, I didn't really know, to be honest with you. Because, and again, it's
Yeah,
one of them. I still think it's hard when kids are coming to the end of school at 16. Right, here you go. Because you are still a kid. No
yeah,
two ways about it. You know what I mean? You get turfed out into an adult world. The only thing that did spark me interest was electrics from doing me work experience.
yeah. I
So
like that, mate. Well done.
yeah, yeah, at 15, I went and worked at Speeds on the
Right.
2 week work experience through school. So did that with the two I was working with was remember Macca from the Wedge, Paul McKeever, maybe a little bit before your time.
He is, yeah. But I think sport's been through the socials, mate. Yeah.
You probably have, yeah, because he was like Steve Vick's age, that sort of age group.
Right.
Him and his cousin Mark Gallagher, who used to be Chemic the Viking. So they were
All
the
right. Okay.
I was working
Or
with.
was he the nutty one with the longer?
Yes, yeah,
He was funny, him, wasn't he?
yeah. Oh, top fella, really, really good fella. So yeah, I went and did the work experience with them, and then I ended up working the full summer with them
Right.
there. So instead of doing 2 weeks, I did like 2 or 3 months. Um, and so that gave me that interest, and I thought, oh, something electrical engineering wise and that. So then started, I thought, bide me time a little bit and went and did my A levels. So I went into sixth form then. I thought, right, well,
What school or because you went Peter and Paul, sorry, didn't you, mate?
yeah, Peter and Paul, yeah. So the sixth form was on site. So again, it was an easy transition because you were already on the site. It's the same place. It's the same place you've always gone. So it was an easy step over. Then I started looking into things, then the engineering. So look, going into the RAF.
Okay.
Obviously, yeah, everyone wants to be a pilot and all that sort of stuff, but medical
Maybe you
issues.
clever lads want to be.
Yeah.
not me, the dumb ones.
Everyone needs everybody though, John.
Yeah, they do, mate. They do.
So at that point, I had a look at going in the engineering, and I thought, I'll give that a blast. But at 16, 17, they wanted me then. Engineering was a minimum 17-year term. So to sign up for your lifetime again was quite a daunting idea.
To say the least, yeah.
Yeah. So it put me off. And then obviously I went down the route of having a look at apprenticeships and what have you because I didn't fancy university because I'd had enough at that point of full-time being sat in the classroom. Thought I can't. Yeah. I need to do something with my hands now. I started applying the apprenticeships and then obviously got into JAG. So I was about halfway.
All from a really young age, that Kyle, yeah.
Yeah, I went to JAG at 18.
Right.
Straight from the A-levels. So I was really concentrated in the first year on the A-levels, the AS levels at the time. And then it was about 2 months into the second year where you go on to your A2s where I got offered the job at JAG and the A-levels didn't mean anything then. So rightly or wrongly, there was a drop in my performance and commitment to my A-levels at that point. Still finished them. But I was like, well, I'm happy here now. I've got a 4-year apprenticeship to go to, using my hands, using my head, bit of learning along the way still. So it was the ideal world for me. Because
in the adult environment as well, because sixth form's like not quite that, is it?
Yeah, it's not quite there. Again, it's like Colts, isn't it? It's that transition, isn't it, from being a kid to the difference in yourself. Remember when you were 16 to what you were like at 18? You're a different person. 18, you feel mature enough. Like, I can actually call myself an adult now. 16, still a baby.
No, you're all right. I'll be honest, mate. I never knew what I wanted to do even in my early 20s, really.
Yeah.
Like, it's young, isn't it? For the best of your life to decide at that age.
Yeah, 100%.
Mad, but you have to.
You fall on your. I mean, I was lucky. I fell on my feet. I got the apprenticeship at JAG, and then, as I say, I'm still there 20 years later. I've never looked back. But again, hindsight then, because obviously it's easy to say when you're looking back. Potentially, if I knew what I know now, back then, I probably would have signed up for the RAF because 20 years has gone by in a blink.
Yeah.
JAG. So I'd have been done, dusted, and probably retired from the RAF now.
But you know what that is, mate, right? So that's like where you're the older sibling.
Yeah.
So you didn't have the above going. When you leave school, you blink and you're in your 30s. I did, and I laughed at them.
Yeah.
And it's literally like true, isn't it? Yeah, no, it is. I'm bald. I'm chubby. I don't play rugby anymore. And I dig holes.
But you're happy.
But only yesterday we were playing golf. Like, it's mad.
Yeah.
And
it is.
So like you've had to learn the hard way, haven't you?
Yeah, you do. You have to take the lessons on because you're the one leading the way, aren't you?
Yeah. So, do you remember about your interview? How was your interview, and how was you in that environment? Because again, that's a new thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it was obviously something completely new to us at that point. I mean, I knew a few people who worked at JAG through family and what have you, so they were giving me a little bit of insight to the sort of things they'd been through when they'd been interviewed and things like that. So I had as good a preparation as I could have with it, really. You know what I mean? Obviously, until you get in there and hear the questions, you don't know what you're going to get. That was the only unknown for me was an interview. We did all psychometric testing around you and all that as well. So like your maths knowledge, your English knowledge, scientific knowledge, all that sort of stuff. They didn't bother me in the slightest because I was confident in that, you know what I mean? But like you said, once you're actually sitting there across the table from someone sticking you with questions, it's like, oh, hold on, this is a bit of a system shock.
Yeah.
But,
I imagine the first day you walked, and it was as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, it was, but you were well looked after. They brought you in, they drip fed you in, and like you say, you spent a lot of time, again, given a transition, you spent a lot of time in the training school to start with. You were off site for so many months doing your machining work and all that sort of stuff, and then you were transitioning steadily into the plant, and then they moved you
Was
around
that
the
before it
areas.
was on the same site, Matt?
Yeah, so when I was starting, we went to St Helens to
Okay.
college for the apprenticeship. So with like I think 4 months to start with, where you were there full time doing all, like I said, the engineering side, milling, machining, turning, all that sort of stuff. And then when you came into site, we did another 8 months in the training school on site, and then we went out then into the out into the actual operations areas then to see get a bit of learning in each of them before they decided where they were putting you at the end of the 4 years. So
So
it was,
how do you juggle that and rugby, Kyle?
at the time, it was easy.
Yeah.
18, no responsibilities apart from sorting yourself out and away you go. And so the first part of it, we worked on days anyway, so it didn't affect training. There was none of that. You just got to make sure you get your academic stuff done to allow you to do the other stuff. You do your fun stuff. Um, as I got a bit older and we went on to shifts, obviously your balance comes in then, so you're working late shifts and stuff where you can't train because you didn't work. Simple as that. Frustrating, but again, I'm not being paid to play rugby. It is social and fun. I'm getting paid to be here and do my job, get my qualifications, and earn a decent living from them. So again, I'm a bit of a strange character like that. Everything's got its positives, everything's got its negatives, but none of it ever gets me het up
Yeah.
because if you take the path to the left, there'll be something good about it, but there'll be something that will annoy you. Take the path to the right, the alternative, it'll be the same. There'll be something good
Yeah.
differently to the other path, but there'll still be something that'll annoy you. You've got to choke it down and make the best of any situation that's put at you, I think. And a lot of people get tied up and frustrated with stuff rather than just taking it for what it is. Game of cards, you play with the hands you dealt, don't you?
Unless you're cheating.
Unless you're cheating.
So
Second
do you get
best.
that from your mum or your dad, mate?
Um,
Or is that just something you've grew into yourself?
no, it's probably a bit of both from my mum and dad. Because me dad, when he was younger, he was a clever lad. He was a clever fella, you know what I mean? He just, in his own words, he wasted his opportunities with school and that. And the friends he's got and grew up with, they went on bigger and better things, like, you know what I mean? Really good things. And my dad didn't quite achieve what he would have liked to have done in hindsight. But again, he's happy with the life he's had and what he's done and the setup with us. But he's
I say your dad's success is very much different to what theirs might be, though. Like yous and that is
100%.
success, aren't you?
Yeah, like my dad said, like, so you see them, there's fellas out there with all the money in the bank, but they've not got any real
Miserable as
family
sin.
relationship or what have you, and that because everyone's always been money, money, money.
Yeah.
But with us, family's always been first and foremost.
Yeah.
Even to the family in Liverpool and what have you, you looked after each other. Everyone was in it together. And if you've only got a tenner left, you use it between you. It's like that sort of approach, you know what I mean? But yeah, he's always been family driven. He's always been quite logical. But obviously, from his playing days and that, it could be quite a hothead as well, my dad. Now, my
Right.
mum was the opposite. She could be quite emotional, if you like. But when it comes to requirement and something needs sorted, the logic kicks in with my mum. Like, we deal with it, we sort it out. And then after the fact, if you want to cry, whinge, shout, laugh, scream, whatever, you can do that afterwards once we're sorted. So I've got a good element of logic and control from both of them.
Yeah. No, I like that because I can honestly probably count on one hand how many times I've seen you lose your nut on a pitch.
We must have
No,
played a game together.
no, legit. And don't forget how long you've played and you're still playing. That's not a
Yeah.
bad going, that, mate, is it? Because you play
No.
against some toss pots, mate, don't you?
Well, I've never been sent off.
Yeah.
I've never had a red card in my career. So I'll take that as some kind of positive. Had a few
You would,
yellows.
mate, because yeah, it takes some doing that. I got sent off by a lad that I played with. How bad's that? So it is what
Love
it is,
it.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it.
30 fellas all having a fight, and then you pick your mate out and send him out.
That's
Well,
nice of him, isn't it?
yeah, I did. I got on with him, but it is what it is, isn't it? But I just mean, like, I don't think that's bad going, mate.
No, it's not bad at all, is it really?
So, like, does is your life on and off the field heading towards the adult mature life anyway, because your work and your rugby starting to be around people that are already in a settled part of their life, aren't they?
Yeah, all round, like you say, rugby and work. So obviously, like you say, you're there at 18, you're full of big ideas, and I'm going to change the world and all this sort of stuff. But then, like you say, you've got fellas who've been there going, I'm 30, I've been where you are, just simmer down. Similar to what you said, like with us, with you and the younger lads coming through the Colts when we were there helping Blissy and that with the coaching and helping you lot come through. Sort of like, without going and throwing your weight around, you'd help keep people in check. And that's only because that the same had happened with us. Like you say, if you start when you're in the club, if you start getting a little bit leery, it's all like, yeah, behave yourselves, sit down, calm yourself down. Otherwise, you're going to spoil it for yourself. And you take the lesson, you take it on the chin, and you move with it. And working life's the same for the most part. Obviously, you'll always come across the odd arsehole who just doesn't want to be helpful or nice and help other people out. And you come across them in work and rugby, don't you?
Yeah. So do you know when Colts comes around then, mate?
Yeah.
When did you notice a shift in the way rugby was played or the standard of the rugby you were playing?
Well, for us, it was quite a system shock, really, because we went 14s, 15s, and then, if I remember rightly, we went straight in at 16 into the Colts, where it was normally 17 to 19. We went in at
Jump that
16.
in it.
Yeah. So again, like we're saying there, the difference between 16 and 18, where you're a kid to an adult,
Yeah.
it is a eye opener. But again, we went into a bloody good squad of lads, you know what I mean, who were welcoming because again, they've been through it. So they brought you in, took you under the wing. As I said, I like Steve Vick and that. They were the Paul O'Connor, Andy O'Neill, Martin O'Neill, people like that. They were there leading the way. Obviously, Jimmy O'Neill was coaching. He was more than welcoming. Didn't throw you under the bus and throw you in and get steamrolled by people. But they brought you through, brought you in and looked after you. Like you say, you learn a hell of a lot because you're going up against men physically. But the good thing with Colts rugby is they're not quite the dark arts of rugby yet. They've not quite learned them. That's once they get into open age. So you learn how to take the knocks from big lumbering idiots without the nasty element to the game that it can have when you get to open age. Then you've only got to learn that bit.
Yeah. And we spoke of camera, mate, and we'll touch a bit on what we did. But the first bit we'll touch on is, do you think maybe playing on a Saturday helped that because the open age teams didn't really pick you, so allowed you to mature with the game?
Yeah, 100%. Because obviously, as you got older with the Colts, then once you were hitting top end of 17, 18, then you would start getting picked up by the open age sides. I mean, they were well established open age sides. It was first, seconds, and the vets at the time. So if the Colts didn't have a game, we'd always go with the vets, and that was sort of like an unwritten rule all
Rugby
over
you'll
the
ever
place.
play.
Oh, absolutely brilliant rugby. But again, Saturday afternoon, you played at 3 o'clock, the same as everybody else, and then Saturday evening, you're in the club with everybody else. You were always looked at as the youngest senior side almost. So when it was the Saturday night and everyone's having a beer and all that, you were mixing with them. So like you say, right from the vets at the peak of the age, through the first, seconds, down to us, you were all in the same club. You were all mixing together. So you had that natural relationship and understanding with the senior players. They knew who you were, you knew who they were. So if you did get turned around and asked, oh yeah, we need you to go with the twos today rather than the Colts, you're like, yeah, all right, it's fine. We can do that. I mean, the first game I had, open age game, the Colts game that got called off. The other team weren't coming. The seconds I only had a bare 15. So it was Stu Atkin. He was captain of the twos at the time. He only had 15. So he spoke to Jimmy. Anyone fancy it? It was me, Duffy, and Lockers. We said, well, we'll hang about and we'll play if you need us, sort of thing. Like, right, okay, we'll get you on for 10 minutes at the end, give you a bit of an introduction, a bit of a taste. Yeah, sound. Stood there, we just finished the warm-up, game kicks off, and Lee Craig was on the wing, and he broke his collarbone 2 minutes in. And it was like, right, come on, you're playing. I was like, I only wanted 10 minutes at the end. Like, well, no, you're in now. So,
He'll put me nappy on.
Upmate debut, 78 minutes, straight in.
Yeah.
Definite thrown in at the deep end, like, and loved every minute of it.
So, like, probably the best way of that, isn't it? So you've not
Oh yeah,
allowed yourself to build up any pre-game nerves because you thought you were playing Colts,
yeah,
and then you've been told, "Oh, we'll give you a talk in 10 minutes at the end."
yeah.
Bang, you're in.
But even when it comes round to it, when you were going onto the pitch, because it's like I say, that mixing in the club of a Saturday evening and stuff like that, I knew most of the players who were on the pitch, at least
Yeah,
knew who they were. Most of them, you knew them properly. So
yeah,
you didn't feel like it was 14 lads and you. You
yeah,
just felt like this is just the next age group now. It's just the next progression and the next step up, which I think is something at the minute and for the last probably 10 years, the club has missed with Colts
yeah,
because when they come into 18, we've almost gone a step backwards, almost like the rugby league model, because it's age group rugby all the way through to 18. Once they come to 18, they've got no link with the open
yeah,
age. I mean, this year there's been a big glut of them who have come through and they're training with the firsts and seconds and that, and they're playing. But we've had a long number of years where the senior Colts disappear. But I can't blame them because they don't know anyone.
yeah,
Because they play on a Sunday, and then all of a sudden it's right, time to go to university or what have you. They just go because the Widnes isn't, or the rugby isn't something in the back of their mind.
yeah,
Whereas if they've been playing on the pitch next to us at the same time and they've been training with us together and that, and they know all of us, then all of a sudden the transition is different. Oh, you know what? Yeah,
yeah,
I'll come back from uni this weekend because I'll come and play and this, that, and the other. It helps. It's familiarity
yeah.
and relationship building. I think
No,
it
it
wins.
definitely is. Yeah, definitely. So did you? We'll touch on the what else we spoke about in a minute, mate. But
Yeah,
so for you to have done what you've done for us, which is what we'll speak about,
yeah.
did people do it for you? So would they give you a lift? Because you were very good at that. I remember the Clio you had. We used to get lifts
Yeah.
everywhere, mate,
Got a
on
black
it. Did
mullet.
you have someone that had run in the warm up with you? Did you have someone that tried to get you in top of the town and things and
Yeah, well, like, again, a lot of
that?
that came from us being so young going into the side. So, like I say, at 16, 17, we were playing with 19-year-olds. Again, the likes of Steve Vicks in his age group, and then Streety in the middle, their age group, and coming down. You'd had that natural. Like I say, they put their arm around you, they looked after you. I mean, in terms of travel, the Wids had the old Bedford minibus then, had two benches in the back, and Jimmy O'Neill would drive us all over the place in it. Kids, kids and kit sliding around everywhere in the back. It got condemned, unsurprisingly.
Right.
But yeah, so again, it was natural. It was I hate using the word, but organically, you know what I mean? It was
Yeah.
just that's how it ran, and everyone looked after each other, and that was it. I'd say I think you were the first ones that went to like age group, weren't you? With the Sunday leagues and what have you.
Yeah, I think
So
so.
again,
Yeah,
it took
because I
away
think
that.
Riz's team were still doing it, weren't they?
Yeah, I tell you, Andy Riley's team, they'd have been the first
Right.
to split and change into the Sunday
Yeah.
rugby. The main reason being they had a dead successful side through the juniors, so they wanted a chance at the winning something. Whereas in the Saturday structure, it was all friendly. There was no recognised structure for the Colts, so I could
Right.
understand why they did it, but
Yeah.
it a little bit short sighted on things in my mind, because it took away that link.
Okay.
The likes of
Yeah, I
Andy,
suppose.
and Matty, because obviously he
Yeah.
had his family and crack.
Yeah.
You've got that natural link for them, but for everybody else who's the first generation, if you like, there's no natural pathway for them there.
Yeah. And I suppose they got quite lucky because that team produced a lot of players, didn't it?
Yeah, it did, and I say a lot of them. There was a lot there who did have a natural link, and that. But like you say, when it come down to your age group, it was completely
Not
enough.
many.
It was separate
Yeah.
from the club almost.
Yeah.
Um, until you got us three idiots in, me, Wiley and Streety, like coming in, like throwing our weight about.
Well, it's funny you mentioned the 3 years because I said to you and when I messaged you about coming on, I don't think you probably appreciate the role you've played
Yeah,
because you transitioned us partly in rugby because we had the better age range than you had, didn't we? We had 17s, 19s, and we were sort of in and out the second team and thirds in between that.
yeah.
Yeah, and
But
then
again, I think a lot
you
of that
helped us.
because you knew us. when turn around, like you say, me, Wiley or Street, you're like, yeah, come, we need you to play this week. John, come and play the twos. Yeah, okay. You were coming to play with people you knew.
Yeah.
It wasn't just the second team captain who you didn't know turning around going, mate, you're with me this week. And you go, who the fuck are you?
Yeah. No, you're right. And on what helps, Tom, mate, it helped us just become men.
Yeah.
Like you did, like take us out, you did put us in line if we needed to. You did hang around probably longer on nights out than you wanted to.
Yeah.
You just allowed us in your circle. We used to go on pictures and for bites to eat and stuff like
Yeah.
you with that smooth transition when we all had stuff going on in
Yeah.
our life. You were like
It's good to hear
a
that.
bit cringy, but like a safety blanket for us that it goes, you know what, this is still just rugby and we're
Yeah.
your mate. If you want to play twos, come and do it. If you want to play threes, come and do it. But if you just want to come and train, come and do it.
Yeah.
Like we were quite lucky, and then you started teaching us like the intricacies,
Yeah.
like Liam, like maybe you not for me positional wise, unfortunately, but I was quite lucky with the likes of I had Liam, and then
Yeah.
Borgie and Barraclough were around, weren't they?
Yeah. Like you said, this is where
You
the dark
ask for,
arts and
yeah,
the
you couldn't
nuances
ask
of
for
the game.
three better people, and then Sayed drop in and out,
Yeah.
and that sort of thing. So I just want to thank you for that for the start, mate. And
You're
I
welcome,
generally
mate.
don't think you did appreciate like what you've done for us, but it's like it's when did you feel? Did you ever feel like you had to, or like was it roles reversed and you've been lucky
Um,
that someone had done it for you?
I think, like you say, it was more just, again, because that's what had been done with us, that it was natural for us to do that with you lot. You know what I mean? Because again, you were the next thing through. And first and foremost, you were all mates with us, and we were mates with you. And that's the start of the relationship, if you like, you know what I mean? Because if you come in, I'm older than you, and you're going to do what I tell you, sort of thing, and you're going to listen to me, you'd be like, ah, do one dickhead, not interested in that. But if you become mates first and foremost, you're actually more likely to listen to someone. You know what I mean? If someone starts giving you advice, you need to behave yourself here. Like, and what's it got to do with you? But if one of your mates gets hold here and says, John, simmer down, yeah, yeah, okay, fair enough. And it, it it's who that person is in that relationship that you've got, isn't it? But you lot made it easy enough for us as well, because like you say, you listened to us as well. Like you say, we're trying to help with the, like you say, positioning and the dark arts of scrummaging with Wildy with yourself and that. You were willing to listen. And like I say, don't be wrong, between me, Streety and Wildy, none of us are any world beaters. But we've been there. It makes a difference. I remember one game actually, I think it was your Colts. There was a 12, and he was the England under 18 captain. They threw Wildy on in the centre because he'd been cutting us to ribbons. Wildy just hammered him. But it was the difference
Yeah,
between someone who was 20
yeah.
playing up mage, knew the game inside and out, but because we were playing in different rules and different, he'd only ever played against people his own age and size. He'd never played
Which
against
is what
anybody
you
else.
touched on before, wasn't it? Yeah, he
Yeah,
was about to enter the real world, weren't he?
yeah. And he got a rude
Yeah,
awakening.
yeah. No, and it is. I think I can't. I've not been around the club that intently for a few years, mate. But I dip in and out, and it's boss to see people, and like not a lot changes. The rugby, like we said, is now a bit of an inconvenience actually,
Yeah,
but
it's means
it
to
is what
an
it
end.
is, isn't it? Like we still get to the odd game together and stuff, but
I mean, like
I
you say,
think
it is a light.
there
It's
should be
almost
something
like
in place, shouldn't there, to have
yeah,
people like use
yeah,
the now version they use.
yeah. I mean, over the years, I've come and gone from the Wids, from arguments with coaches and one thing and another. I've seen my ass and walked away and gone and played here, there, and everywhere. But I always end up coming back. I
Yeah,
always end up coming back
because it
home.
is it
Like
is
the Wids,
home. Yeah,
yeah, it's where we all grew up. It's where we come through to senior, like you say, senior life as much as senior rugby. But it doesn't half make a difference, and you can go back.
no, you can, and it's like you know it's a nice time and a moment in your life when a bit like probably your schoolmates that you might not see you go and you might only see them for that night for another year.
Yeah,
It's like as we're back in year 11 laughing, joking about stuff,
yeah. But
reminiscing.
all joking aside, like with that though, again, the rugby for some reason keeps that link there and makes it stronger. Like
Mm.
the lad who I grew up with was my best mate bar none from being 4 years of age through to we were like 18. I think since we were 18, I've seen him twice. You know what I mean? 'Cause we sort
Yeah,
of, when we were at college, I was like heavy on the sports side, and he was very artistic, music, arts, and all that sort of stuff. So we did
yeah,
divert away from each other. Um, but on the flip side, Side Duffy, I was mates with him since 4 years of age. Still mates with him now. Obviously, we played rugby, we mixed in the same circles, and we've kept that relationship. Lockers, Chambers from being 11.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Same thing. The rugby almost gives you the glue that holds it all together, sort of thing.
It's just a common interest, mate, and
Yeah.
that's something else you don't like. You get told, but you don't appreciate. Like life happens and changes,
Oh God, yeah.
paths and directions entwine again eventually.
Yeah.
But when I think when you're a certain age, them paths and entwinements confuse you
Yeah. Yeah. No, no, you mean it's a bit
until
like
we speak like now or like we have done in the past at the club and that. You
yeah.
think, oh, that it does just happen.
Yeah. Oh God,
It'll
yeah.
show how strong it was when it does entwine, how much you have a laugh or how much you just say it right and move on.
Yeah.
It's just life in it, mate.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it is, mate.
Yeah.
It moves
So
on.
when did rugby league become a thing, mate? When did you get introduced or took there or how did it come about?
The first introduction I had to rugby league, I'd come round to it in the notes I'd written. The first introduction was I had a spell at the Maries. I had
Okay.
I can't remember the circumstances, but I had a row with one of the coaches at the club. Felt like I'd been mistreated by him, blah blah blah. And I just see my ass walked out. I trained a couple of times at the Maries because Welsh, was playing there, Dave Welsh.
Yeah.
Obviously, I was going out with his sister at the time.
Right.
So I went round there. And again, you talk about like thrown in the deep end. First game I had was Maries seconds versus Simmies seconds at the Corpy. So again, there you go. Get involved there and see what you can do. I enjoyed it, enjoyed the time in there, but I never really fit in at the Maries. It was a quite an insular club in a lot of ways, wasn't it? There's a lot of people from there who we still talk to now and that, but I never felt at home with the Maries.
Yeah.
But again, I think age comes into that because there was no one else around my age. I was confident enough and happy enough to talk to people there and get involved with them, but they were all that bit older, so I never had the mix with them. But where rugby league really solidified for me was with Runcorn when that came about. Obviously, as we said, we've spoke about it before. So Widnes with Vikings in the community at the time. Obviously, Holton being under the one banner, they had a look over the water and wanted to try and do something in Runcorn, get something going there. And it was, I think, remember rightly, it was only a little advert in the weekly news opening this up, sort of thing. And Streety had gone over. There was only 6 or 7 fellas there the first week. Chris Leach, Andy Kirchin, I think, was over there. Steve McGreevey, a couple of lads from Moore, I think, if I remember rightly, because that's where they hosted it. So he told me about it. Oh, we had a laugh, we had a run round, let's see what we can get going with it. I went over the second week with them, and then like the field of dreams, build it and they'll come sort of thing. So it started gaining some traction. More and more players were coming in. Particularly the idea was rugby league trying to capture the interest of rugby union players. So in the off season, give you something to do and see if it would strengthen the league game as a whole. And you know what? I had some absolutely brilliant times over there at Runcorn, particularly when we were playing at Moore, because the club, it was like our own club, like being at the Widnes, it's home from home. When we were playing up there, it was just great. Camping on the Moore pitches and just general lifestyle again. 18, 19, life's just a laugh a minute sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah. I can imagine with that group of boys as well, mate.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There was some lunatics. I think even Wildy Streety, me, Foz coaching, Liam Ward. He played over there with us, didn't he, Wardy?
Right.
The very first game we had actually, Big George K. He played. We played down in Denby. That was the very first match. Rob Callum jumped up and played the ball to himself because he didn't know what he was doing. Like a throwback to like 1970s rugby league where you can get away with it. And the referee's head nearly fell off. You can't do that anymore. I've not played for ages.
Yeah, that's class, that, isn't it? But that's exactly what the target audience was, mate, wasn't it?
Yeah, oh yeah, 100%. You get people involved who hadn't played for a long time or who hadn't played rugby league at all in most lads' cases, or certainly not from when they were kids to that point. Um, it was just great. I loved the time over at Runcorn. I really did. It was brilliant. Like I say, then obviously the next transition was you lot coming to do over there, wasn't it? You all come over and got
Yeah,
involved, and
yeah,
like yourself, Chris Morgan,
yeah.
there's a few others, wasn't there?
Yeah, Scars.
Scars, fucking hell, yeah, Scars.
Yeah,
The little
yeah,
pocket rocket.
yeah. So there's probably a lot of stories you can't talk about, mate, want there? But I think I think the meeting place before I come to meet you all was like, was it when Chev had the black horse? You used to have some good nights there, didn't you? And
Yeah, yeah, yeah. His dad
yeah,
ran the
was
black
that
horse.
like a focal point for you? Is that because some of the memories you speak about, like, you can see it in your eyes, like the memories of boss. So
Yeah,
you know when you tell him, yeah,
yeah. It wasn't like you say a lot of that. His dad was welcoming Albert. You know what I mean? He was quite happy because I mean, at the end of the day, we're in there spending money in his pub, so he's quite happy. But if it's people
yeah,
he can trust and he looked
he'd
after
be
us,
there.
and we were smart enough. Like I say, we'd eat in there all the time, drink there with Chev and that, and it was good. And then obviously just taking yourself off around town and off the toppers.
Yeah, because it's a bit out the way for viewers and listeners that might not know, isn't it, mate? It's like,
The Black Horse.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's what's a dandelion now, isn't it?
yeah,
If that puts it into context for people, it's like you say, it's not somewhere that you could just throw your trainers on and nip up the road to. You'd have to drive there or put the hard yards in to get there, or taxis or whatever. But it was always somewhere we were looked after. You know what I mean? With the lads and that up there. But it was good. It was good.
you know, because you were there from its founding time, really, mate. Was you know how to just play rugby, or did you ever have to join a committee? Did you ever have to come out like that?
Yeah, I did. I was involved with the committees at some points. A lot of it,
Yeah,
like Chris Leach was the main one who jumped in and jumped onto the committee side of it because he was that bit older than us. He'd seen it through being involved with Farmouth and what have you through the years. So he had that knowledge. Obviously, Andy Kirchin, he was the general manager at Widnes when they were in Super League and stuff like that. So he was there. He came in as the, I can't remember that he was the secretary or whatever his title was at the time, but he was running the show in the background.
yeah,
So again, similar to what I've spoke about in the past, there's a lot of people from different levels, different times of their life who were putting the effort and time in and their experience to get it running. It was more towards the end of that first iteration of Runcorn that I got involved on the committee. Again, more opinion pieces more than anything. Don't know, a player's point of view, like a player's rep almost. There was a couple of us involved in that side of it, but it was like you say, it was definitely our club, ran by us, for us, and anyone else who wanted to go. You know what I mean?
yeah. And do you think both courts progressed your game playing both courts? So did
Yeah,
they complement each other?
100%, 100%. I mean, from my point of view, as everyone knows, me tackling was never me particularly my strong point. It really wasn't. Flap arms at people and all that. And I don't teach the kids to do that now. Like, but from playing rugby league, then it's all direct. Majority of the
Yeah,
time, someone's trying to run over someone else in front. Very rare people looking for space. So
yeah,
it it enforced that tackling side of my game and improved it no end. So I noticed the difference. And my dad pointed out to me loads of times when you go back and play union, then my tackling was 10 times better than it used to be. But again, then the opposite way round, where we were saying about like the positional sense and that sort of thing. Rugby league, you don't even have to think about it. If a standoff's going to kick anything but the last, everyone will go, "Wow, what a play that was!" But in rugby union, obviously, you can be kicked all over the park at any point, whenever. So you've got to be aware of that. So rugby league wise, taking that positional sense and reading of a game, it you were 3 or 4 steps ahead on how things were going to unfold in front of you. Oh yeah, they're going to come along, going to take 2 hard drives down one side, they're going to come on the open, and then they're going to kick. You were always 2 steps ahead, sort of thing, on that side of it from the union influence.
Yeah.
Like you say, in terms
Yeah.
of physicality and toughing it up, you took that from league into the union side then.
You'd have had a few red cards if you were doing that now, mate, wouldn't
Yeah.
you?
I've not fell foul of it yet. I'm surprised at the new rules. I've
Yeah.
managed to alter myself enough. Stop
You're
taking
just friendlier with the refs now, mate, innit? You've mellowed.
that counts for so much. Speaking nicely to a referee and giving them the respect they deserve.
Yeah.
Taking that into football, the amount of things I got away with playing football was unreal. Just because
You shared your bonbons.
yeah, oh, yeah, exactly. Jay sweet,
Yeah.
yes, sir, no, sir, mate. You know,
Yeah.
it's like football. They're normally getting bollocked and shouted at by morons. And then when
Yeah.
someone turns around and says, sorry about that, sir, their head nearly falls off. It's like, what do you mean, sir? Ref? Why am I getting an official title here? What's going on? But obviously, from us, from the rugby background,
Just
it's
how it
completely
is, isn't it?
natural. Yeah, it's how
Yeah.
you'd address them.
So
Oh.
when did the football come into it, mate? When did AFC Rec introduce themselves to you or get you involved?
Top of my head, it's probably about 15 years ago now, because we're that old. Um, it just started out as uh, five-a-side on Banky. That's how we started.
Okay.
It was having a kickabout, and that was all it was, playing on there. But then five-a-side became eight-a-side, became ten-a-side, became unmanageable on there. And they decided at the time, well, should we set it up and have a team? I mean, a lot of that was driven by Skaz, give him his due. Like, he took it on and got it set up, and we went from there then. So there was, like you said, there was a good group of lads there from the rugby. So Skaz, Andy Riley, people like that, Eddie Bate, with a lot of my other mates who I've grew up with, just all coming in under the footy. And it was good. It was a good laugh. Again, it was another team for us, by us. That initial team, that was Metro Rec to start with. That
What
went,
was yours?
yeah, Metro it was to start with. And that went one direction with Skaz, and then he went into the Hurricanes and all that. And
Yeah.
then AFC Rec itself came probably more like 10 years ago. That came out of the back of that then, because where it'd gone quite serious on the one side. A
I
lot
was
of people
say that it,
that.
it got proper like really quick on you, didn't it? What was meant to be a bit of fun
Yeah,
become a bit proper, really.
yeah. Again, it was another one I had disagreements with the coaching staff, so I walked
Yeah.
away from it early on. But then when it came round to AFC Rec, it was back to the lads.
What the idea was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a laugh. It was a means to an end. It was get us out on a Sunday,
Yeah.
have a kick about, something to eat, and a couple of pints. But it was a busy part of my life playing rugby on a Saturday and then dusting yourself off to go and play on the Sunday on the footy then.
It was. So one question, mate. I didn't send you this, but what's it like playing football hungover compared to playing rugby hungover?
Uh,
Imagine the last thing you want to do is stick your head on a ball, innit?
yeah, I was going to say football's probably harder hungover because there's a lot more running, isn't there? You know what I mean? You're up and down, you're all over the place. Like you say, sometimes in rugby, you can get stuck into a turgid forwards game, can't you? Where it's an half an hour battle over 2 yards of the pitch. So
Yeah.
you're into an arm wrestle, you can deal with that. But with the football, bit more long work, I think, in the footy. Yeah,
Yeah,
rather
I'm
play rugby.
thinking there. I was like, that would be a rough Sunday morning after most of them Saturdays.
Oh yeah.
What time was kickoff as well? Early, wasn't it?
You were mid morning, yeah. Normally about
Oh,
10,
no.
11 o'clock. It was only the
Oh,
same as got
that
going the
could be
Colts with
tough.
you. They were early doors
Well,
kick
so,
for the Saturday nights.
yeah, but don't forget when we got to 19s, it was 2 o'clock rather than half 12.
Yeah, that was
So
better on
you
it.
had a little bit of license to like try and get something down, like have a bit of a lie-in and that if you were at all.
The lay-in, bit of breakfast, then away you go again.
Yeah, and then you'd always feel better if Newey was throwing up on the way somewhere like Manchester or something. You'd
Always,
always thought,
always
I
someone.
am not him, so I'm okay.
Yeah. There's always someone worse off, isn't there?
Yeah, which like brightens your little hour up, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, makes you feel 10 times better. Then you get a lift from it, don't you? Like from someone else being worse than you.
Yeah,
I feel all right now.
yeah. So, did you ever find frustration like playing between two teams? Because say like the team above you are pick lads where you thought, On maybe a Tuesday on a Wednesday, you've got a real good like 10 or 12 car, and then come Saturday, you've got 6 or 7.
Yeah, I think everyone's experienced that at some point in the career where, like you say, you see it as a bit of an injustice. I mean, that was in the years gone by. And again, don't be wrong, I've never had myself down as one of these, I should be in the first, because I've never been good enough for the first. I had one game with the first team, and I say I've never been good enough. With the right coaches, I could have established and probably had a couple of games there, but most part, seconds and thirds has been my level. But you'd always end up one of them people who, because you're willing to play whatever and you're willing to do this, that, and the other, you'll get moved and shifted out for someone's mate or someone here, there, and the other. I had arguments with coaches over the years, like you say, give me a reason, you know what I mean? If you turn around and tell me, look, I'm not picking you because, fine, you know what I mean? But I've had conversations with coaches where I've been on a good scoring streak, if you like, scoring tries for fun out on the wing, having fun, playing well, and then they'll need a winger to go on the bench for the first. No, not a sniff. But other lads who were there, it's not fair to name names because it's not the players' issue, it was the coach's fault. But players who have very, very similar ability to me, but they would go they'd be the one they'd take. But when you ask the coaching staff about it, well, why? They can't really give you an answer. At that point,
You
that's
used
where
to get the horses for courses shit, did you?
I wouldn't even mind that if they turned around and said, I've brought him because, even if you disagree with what a coach says, at least he's giving you a reason and you go, fine.
True.
But it's when it turns to platitudes and, oh, well, keep trying and this, that, and the other. Just, no, not.
Pussyfooting round it.
Yeah. Have the courage of their own convictions to turn around and say, look, I've made this choice because you might not.
Even if it's, I just don't like you. You're just not for me. That's fine.
You don't fit with how I want to play the game. Again, you might not like the reason, but you can make your own choice then. But in the conversations I've had in the past where I've just gone, you know what, I can't be arsed with this. I'll go and play somewhere else, play somewhere warranted, you know what I mean, sort of thing.
Your willingness and versatility has probably been your downfall, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, as I said, I mean, I had the same in the rugby league. We've had that where we'd go up there one week and there'd be 12 players available. You'd scratch 14 together, so you've got one sub, and you'd be playing up in Cumbria and doing the shit dog work. But then there's a nice game at home where every fucker's available, and then the next thing is, oh yeah, you're 18th man. Like, well, hold on, I went to fucking Batley with you last week. Why? And my dad called one of the coaches out on it one day. He said, there was 3 or 4 of us there. He said, you'll drop them because you know they'll be here next week. He said, the other ones you're putting in, they don't get to play on their terms. They won't come back again. I'm giving his due at the time. The coach said, you're not far off the truth. There's a level of that involved. And again, if people are honest about it and tell you that, then we're trying to get him to come and play and stay with us. Do you mind? Yeah. Go on, all right, fair enough. Don't do it every week, but yeah, go on. And I think every player's probably come up against that frustration at some point in the career. But you get to a point where you've got to decide what you want. And I say it took me a while to actually get in my mind, yeah, I'm not a first team player. I could play odd games, I'd do a job, but in terms of an established regular first team, that's not going to be me. So it almost takes the pressure off yourself then. And you just go, well, you can almost laugh about it then. Like you can call people out on it then and say, well, you're full of shit.
Well, you can, innit? And it's having it in you to do that, innit, mate? And like you said, you're mature and grown up at this time. So if you're being honest and direct with someone, they should know you well enough at that point whether you're one of them that needs the directness or you need a cuddle. So
100%. And again, this is only from like you say, my years of playing and then helping with the coaching with you lot, helping now coaching with the kids. 95% of people respond better to an arm around the shoulder. 100%. If you've made the mistake, you know what I mean. You don't need
it ramming down your throat.
Why have you dropped that ball? Oh yeah, because I threw it on the floor on purpose. Why have you missed that tackle? Oh yeah, I just didn't fancy it, so I let him pass. Yeah, you've tried, you've made a mistake, and it's gone wrong. there is always the exception to the rule, and there is one or two players out there who don't respond to the arm around the shoulder and they need a boot up the arse. But you get to know them and you get to learn them, and you know it's your man management side then. And I think man management is something that a lot of people struggle with. They might have the nous with a rugby ball, and we do this, we do that, we do the other. But in terms of how to actually speak to people and handle people,
just can't do it.
It lost on them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with that, mate. Yeah, definitely.
I go back to one of the favourite coaches I played for was Rivers when he was at the Wids, because he was always, he had more confidence in me than I did. You know what I mean? That's it. It was under Andy that I got me one and only first team game. There was someone injured. There was a space. They were going to take another forward, needed a back. And Andy Domain turned around and went, he'll do us a job. We'll be fine. I did, played 10 or 15 minutes, only played the end of the game over in the Isle of Man, so it was a free weekend away as well.
Right.
Couldn't knock it. But, I mean, had he have stayed as the first team coach after that,
He knows.
you know what I mean? Because he was confident enough in me. And he also knew how to deal with me. You know what I mean? There's been the cliche laughs over the years, hasn't there? Kick it, Kyle, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
He got hold of me one game. He said to me, if you kick that ball from anywhere but inside your 22, he said, I'm going to rip your head off and break your legs. He said, so I've told you now. I was like, okay. And I had a storming game off the back of it, you know what I mean? Because there's less thinking about it because you've been instructed and you've been coached in what they want you to do. Not just, fucking hell, that was rubbish. That doesn't do anything for anyone. Like, you know what I mean? I see it with the kids now. Again, they're only 8, but they can pass. But then they start messing about and they start lobbing the ball up in the air and all that sort of stuff. But you get down to their level and show them exactly what you're after. You're doing this wrong because change it by this to do this. And again, I think it's a personality thing with a lot of coaches, that whether they've got that in them, got that ability to deal with people at that level and to actually coach.
Yeah. A lot of coaches aren't actually coaches because our age, mate, coaching done really. You're just fine tuning, aren't you?
Yeah.
But some people just haven't got that. They've inherited a good team that have gone on and done well, and they stick around because the lads are getting better as they're getting older.
Yeah. I mean, you get a lot of, I mean, you always need that person who's willing to put their hand up and say, you know what, I'll help run that team. And like you say, sometimes you end up above your ability, sometimes you end up below your ability because they're all volunteers at the end of the day. And I'll never knock anyone who puts their hand up to do a job. I'll take my hat off to anyone, you know what I mean? I say I'm doing it with the kids and you can see how much is involved and how much work goes into it. So I doesn't matter what agreements or disagreements I've had with people, I would never, ever knock them for stepping up and doing it in the first place. I'll always take my hat off to people for that. And like you say, sometimes you'd end up where, fucking hell, what do we do with this situation? I don't really know, because top coaches end up at the top level. They don't end up down at amateur hour, do they? You know what I mean?
Oh, that's it. They find a way, mate, don't they?
Yeah, 100%.
So have you been with injuries, mate? Because I know as you got older, was it your Achilles on it?
No. Touch wood. I've never done too bad with injuries. Not playing for the next 2 weeks though, so I'm all right. The only real bad one I've had was I broke my wrist when I was 15 playing. As I offloaded the ball, I put my hands down to you break your own fall. There was a lad running alongside me and he kicked my hand off my wrist as he was running. I was right into his stride. Arms went down in front of him. And so he booted my hand off my wrist. I was like, that's painful.
Needs to be.
Yeah.
But you've been quite lucky, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, it's more minor muscular stuff I've had over the years. Right. Pulls of hamstrings, quads, and one thing and another, trying to get your legs in balance. Broke my nose and fingers umpteen times. Like, I think I've done my nose 7 times.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so good looking.
You know, 7 times.
Yeah.
How have you?
I mean,
it don't look like this.
No, it's not quite flat. It's like normally the cartilage that goes, isn't it? The bottom. But I have had it where the bone went. I was only playing for Runcorn actually. I was due to go on a lad's holiday. 2 weeks later, line this lad up to tackle him. I was playing fullback. Come into the line as he's coming through. Just as I set to hit him, he got it from the side, so he spun. So where he was coming in, head here, the back of his head just went straight onto the bridge of my nose. And I'd say the actual bone at the top there shifted. So,
Panda did you for your holiday?
Wasn't too bad. They had to operate on it to reset it because the bone had gone. But that was the first couple of weeks. We'd had a physio come in at Runcorn from football. He'd done football all his life. And
He was a nice fella, him, actually.
yeah, Peter, he's good. He come on to me and he went, "Oh, that's gone." He said, "You need to come off." So he got me there on the touchline. So I looking, have we got any ice? Got any ice? He turned to Steve McGreevey and he's got the cool box. And all that was in it was 2 ice packs and 4 Guinness. Genuinely, I had one of the ice packs from his Guinness on my nose.
Yeah.
And young James O'Neill, who he went on the wing in place of me, he scores, but he breaks a rib because he gets kneed in the ribs. So turn around, there's only 3 forwards on the bench and me with my nose under my eye. And it was, I think it was Jed at that point. Yeah, you go back on for us. And Peter Physio goes, "You can't go back on with that. You can't go." Yeah, I don't know. He's proper flapping. I went, "Well, it's not going to get any worse." So the worst thing that'll happen is just straighten it for me. So back on we go. He's like, "You lot, you've lost the plot. You're all mad."
And then my next one, mate, is how nice is it seeing the lads get involved in sport, and how nice is it to be involved with the lads being involved with sport?
It's really it's brilliant. As I said, I mean, I love having the kids there watching me. Reese has been coming for a couple of years now because he's obviously that little bit older. Since he's about 6, he's like, "Oh, right, oh, daddy's playing. I'll go." And he enjoys having the time with my dad as well. You know what I mean? And that while they're watching. The youngest one, Luke, I think he could take it or leave it at the minute. But with Reese, because he's seeing me play, he's got the drive to and the interest to want to do it himself. Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of that as well. It was one of them. I'm going to be going and taking him. So I'm either going to be sat in the car waiting for them to train or stood out in the rain waiting for them to train. Might as well get involved and help it, you know what I mean? But seeing the progression in them, obviously, kids mature bloody quickly, don't they? You know what I mean? The difference between a 5-year-old to a 6-year-old to a 7-year-old, it's major. But seeing them start to learn and seeing them respond to you is one of the good things. You know what I mean? The kids are made up. They'll have a laugh. They'll take the piss a little bit out of you and one thing and another. And obviously at their own level, but you see them becoming little people. And again, like you say, seeing your influence on them and trying to mature them as a player at their own age group, but you're helping them grow and look after them first and foremost.
Yeah. Is it hard to separate Kyle from dad?
Yes. Yeah, it is. I mean, that's not just me. I think that's any kid who's playing for their own parents, because obviously in the same side at the Hornets, like Dan Woodward's coaching. We're the 2 main coaches, if you like, for the team. We started it, and his little lad Leo. So when Dan is on a drill with Leo will act up for him. When Reese is on a drill with me, he'll act up and argue with me. If you flip them round and you put them just under a coach, you don't need a peep out of any of them. So I think it's hard. It's probably harder for them to, like you say, differentiate dad to coach. It's easier for us because you can apply a bit more logic to it, can't you? But at 8 years of age, it's hard for them to understand that they can't switch it on and switch it off.
Yeah,
as you can do it a bit better. But it's all part of the learning curve for us, you know what I mean, and how to deal with them, and for them how to be dealt with and how to be coachable.
Yeah. So you're still playing, aren't you, mate? But say, like, in 5 years' time, if you were to look back on your rugby and that, are you content and happy with it, mate?
Yeah, 100%. I live, again, said in the past, I'm quite a laid-back guy, and I'm not one for regrets and what if I'd have done this and what if I'd have done that. Some people live in that life and they'll beat themselves up for choices they didn't make, and there's nothing you can do about it apart from depress yourself. So you know what I mean? I've won plenty of trophies down the way, you know what I mean? I've won league titles at my own level, rugby league, rugby union, won cup competitions, rugby league, rugby union. So I've got enough medals from open age rugby as well as a few from junior rugby to look back on and go, yeah, you know what, I've enjoyed it, and that the silverware is nice. You know what I mean? I've got some belting nights out and nights off the back of a good win, don't you? And that, but it, like you say, the main thing was it's the enjoyment that you've had from playing and the success of the friends you've made and the life you've made, really, more than, like you say, 'cause at the end of the day, no matter how good players are, unless you're getting paid and it's your job where you've really made it, all you've got from it's the memories in the end, isn't it? You know what I mean? Yeah. The end comes to everybody. I mean, look, even Crack.
Yeah.
You have to stop sometime.
I know, it's strange, that, isn't it? But
I don't think I'll go till I'm 70, but
no, mate, I'd have liked just to have gone to like 30, never mind 70. But no, and do you know what, mate? Again, just thanks for how you've been with us. I'm sure the other lads would tell you and that if they were about. But
yeah, that's appreciated,
hopefully
mate.
you appreciate that we appreciate what you've done for us with the other two. So
Yeah,
no,
it's
thank
nice
you,
to
mate. And
it's nice to hear it. You know what I mean? It's not.
yeah,
I don't want praise for that, but I'm glad that that's the impact I've had on you and the other
yeah,
lads, along with the other two, with Wiley and Streety, that we've had that positive influence on you and as players and just as men.
yeah. Well, that's it. Outside of life and that, mate, is with my first gig and my first proper nights out in different towns and stuff, mate. It's like just stuff that you need people like you to get us ready for,
Yeah, like you say,
and
the
that's what it's
transition to
about.
life,
So
isn't it?
thanks again, mate. So I've got a few daft questions for you.
Yeah, go on.
So, any pre-match superstitions?
Um, Not that much really. They've changed over the years, but at the minute, got my lucky blue boxes. I wore them one game, had a belt in them, so it's like that. I'm sticking with them.
Right.
The only other bit I've got is I've still got the same forearm pad I had when I was 14, so that's still going.
Yeah.
That's stuck with me. But other than that, it's the pre-match poos and a sandwich meal deal before you get on the game.
Yeah. Athlete.
Oh, yeah.
I used to think that about everyone that when remember when is it Cronton Bakery
Oh,
opened
yeah, and
and
they're
they
coming
done
out with the protein boxes and all that.
yeah. I was like, who do you think is that?
Yeah, I'm sat there with a
Says
sausage
what
butty
like
or
all
a
you've
double
had is a
sausage
bit of
egg.
scrambled egg and spinach where they'll
Yeah,
just see you drilling it in deli before you got here.
exactly. Get a proper butty down. You get a bit of stodge in, you're ready for the match.
Yeah.
At least when you get it in the
Soccer
stomach.
AM and a dit in
So,
deli.
yeah, proper mornings.
Yeah. So you might not know who the player is, mate, but you might know the team or the position. And the next word, the definition of it's different for everybody. But the toughest player you played with and against.
Toughest player, again, there's a few over the years in league and union. I've got one from each code, in all honesty. Union, Ian Winstanley is probably one of the toughest players. He played league as well for a good while. The North Wales
Yeah.
Coasters, didn't he, in the summer? The
Oh,
amount
did
of,
he?
yeah. I don't know
Oh,
how the
right.
hell he ended up down there, but
Yeah.
obviously because we knew him, you start
Yeah.
you make a mark on your own players, don't you? Know what I mean?
Yeah.
The amount of players I've seen try and turn a stripe off him and trying to put a shot on him and one thing and another, and he's rolled everything. And even when he's had a bad one, gets up, goes again. Complete control and an absolute gentleman. Not someone to lose the plot. And he just tough, but not a bad player as well.
Yeah. Do you
Rugby
know what,
league.
mate? Remember when he got hard wounded at Lee? I love
Well,
watching that video. It's on
yeah,
YouTube if any viewers or listeners want to see
yeah.
it, but he
I've
gets
got mention of that from
murdered.
the team in a bit. Yeah, one of my favourite videos. That.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
What you'll also notice in that video is a skinny Quinny. Quinny on the wing
Yeah.
at about 11 stone.
Oh,
And
no, I don't remember Quinny being there.
now he's built like a hooker. Have a watch that video.
Oh,
I
well,
score, and he's just outside me, and he still never forgive me for not giving him the ball. I was like, I wasn't letting go of
right,
that.
get it down. If you can get it down, don't you?
Exactly. And then rugby league, toughest player was Jed at Farm with Mike Riley.
Yeah.
You could hit him with a sledgehammer, and he'd get up and go again and again and again. I remember one match for Farmworth. We only had 12, and he tore his hamstring the week before. And he's scratching around for numbers of players and that. And he leave it with me. And he goes off. We're thinking he's gone off on the phone trying to get hold of a player. And he come back round walking like the Tin Man. Like, what have you done? He got a roll of duct tape out of the van and just like immobilized his hamstring. So he just taped his leg up from hip to knee and played. and then got man of the match.
Didn't he play the real good standard? Was he at Saints or something?
Yeah, he was on the wing at Saints. So the
Yeah,
season, I think it was the season before Super League. I think was his
right.
last season up at Saints. I think he got man of the match in the grand final or something like that, or whatever it was at that point. But yeah, he was
Yeah.
at Saints and then ended
Does he
up
don't brag about it and nothing, does he? Like, you wouldn't
no,
know, would you?
just dead, like
Placid.
humble fella about it, isn't he? He just,
Yeah.
but yeah, probably one of the hardest players I've ever played with, bar none. And again, there was a handful of them up there the same. Spend their Dutchy people like that. They were all hard
Yeah.
as nails. But yeah, Jed's the standout there.
So is there anyone that stands out against, mate?
um,
Like I said, you might not know him, but you might know the team or
yeah, not
necessarily know.
that anyone that sticks out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We played against a good range of players. I mean, yourself as well. Played against some of the old rugby league lads coming forward and stuff like that. You know, he played St Maries, but he was a fat old man by the time he played against us, so there was nothing to him. Yeah, no, there's no one particularly sticks out for someone that I'm not one of them. I'd never be wary of anyone. I've never backed down from a game of rugby or anything in my life. Chances are you're going to run me over. Someone's going to run steamroller me. But I'll keep trying. I get
Yeah,
steamrolled
that's it.
times, and that's why I don't think there's anyone that stands out. No one that never been feared of anyone anyway.
No, no, I like that though, mate, and neither should you be. So your favourite away ground that you played at?
I was sat there thinking before and again because I've been around that many. The bad ones tend to stick out more than
Shit
the
off, yeah.
good ones. Like you say, the two worst ones are probably Helsby's old club with the showers in the roof.
Where was that the Houghton Arms that when it was there?
No, we're further over. They had their own club. Um,
Did they?
where the Tesco is the far side at Helsby.
Yeah.
You go past there and it was on the right hand side. It's all been rebuilt now.
Oh no, I know. Wait, sorry, I'm thinking of. I think they played there for a year. You're thinking where they're building the houses, aren't you?
Yeah.
That was rough.
Oh,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was horrendous, horrendous. And the other worst one was Glossop, because no matter what time of year you went, it was always like fucking winter.
Underwater. Yeah.
But one of the ones that sticks out as somewhere that was always a nice club or always had a nice feel to the place was Filed up towards Blackpool. That was a traditional rugby union club, if you like one. It just
Yeah.
always had a nice atmosphere and feel about it. And they hosted a few of the finals through the years, I think, if I remember rightly. And Vale Loon as well. And they
Well,
hosted
yeah.
a
Do
few
you
of
know
the
what, mate?
finals.
Not only was it quite nice, but I always loved the game against Vale.
Yeah,
It was just nice and direct. It was just like
yeah,
heavy traffic, and they didn't really shy away from carrying whether you whacked them or not.
yeah. You knew what you were going
Yeah,
to do.
I
You knew
used
you
to
were going
like
to earn the game.
Vale games. Yeah.
Well, it was all fun.
So if you could tell a younger Kyle something, mate, what would it be?
Just probably just keep going. Trust yourself and your own mind. You know what I mean? Like you say, I've always been of my own mind, but where you have that little bit of, you'll always question yourself, won't you? But now back yourself and double down on it. If you think it's right, it's right. If you think it's wrong, and that's the lesson you've got to go with. Just keep plodding on.
Oh, mate, I like it. Do. So if we were out on the smash, mate, and the microphone ended up in your hands for some reason, what are you giving us?
You do well getting it in my hands because I can't stand singing on my own.
Yeah.
If I was pick, it'd have to be a song that would get everybody involved because you can,
And then we were quite shy back then.
yeah, like
Yeah.
an American Pie or something like that because you know within one or two bars of the music starting, everybody's going to be singing and you can just mime it in the background then.
It is yeah, it's clever that, mate. Clever. So if you're willing to, mate, a 1 to 15 that you played with so far.
Yeah, I want to 15. So start with the first prop, Wildy. So obviously one of the three amigos as we were years gone by. One of the toughest players again I've played with, but also surprisingly quick for a fat lad. He could
He
shift.
was, mate. Yeah, he was.
He probably still could now if there was a cheeseburger in front of him.
You're brave, you.
Oh yeah, I can say it now because you can't get me yet. At least for another week anyway. Then moving on to the hooker, again the third leg of the trio, Streety. Not everybody's cup of tea in terms of when he was playing and that, but he always played with his heart on his sleeve. He'd play anywhere for you, and then he wasn't bad, even though in his words, spent most of his career looking at worms while he was hooking. He used to use that against people, but I think he forgot that he was a hooker for a good spell of time. The other prop, forwards has been more difficult for me because obviously I spent most of my life in the backs. But again, a prop always comes to mind with stuff. Again, for toughness and the difference he'd make in the games. Aldo, Sai, I'd loved him to have been down in the twos and that more often once he'd come back from the first and that. And him being back involved with the twos now, I think is a major boon for the club. You know what I mean? His experience. But he was the difference he made in the game in the loose just because he was like a baby rhino, wasn't he? And then even in the set play, he was spot on. Moving into the second row is got to put Lockers in there. One of my oldest mates, and he was never a standout in terms of a superstar, but in terms of a workhorse that would keep going, scrummaging ability, he did everything that was needed to be done and kept doing it and doing it and doing it. And you need them players to carry you forward. The definition of in the engine room, really, isn't he?
Yeah, he was part of that solid second team, mate. When he was with Martin and Andy, and when John Parker and Tommy were involved, like we had a really good team, didn't we?
Yeah, it was a good twos then. It was a really good twos. His partner for the second row, Chris Rigby, Riggers, always loved playing with Riggers because the rugby came afterwards. It was the aggression that he brought first and foremost, and the forward motion, the violence like his dad. And then the rugby sort of followed secondary.
Yeah.
But couldn't leave him out. Moving into the back row, starting at 6. Now, this lad for me is one of the most underrated players that the Wids has had for a long time. Tom Spencer. The lad can play anywhere. You can put him in the centre, put him on the wing, put him at fullback, and he will do you the boss job. But I think most of his best rugby has been played at 6 because he's that step.
Who's that? Sorry, Kyle.
Tom Spencer.
Yeah.
I think his all-round game is brilliant. And again, he's another one. He's tough as old boots as well.
But, covers the ground, doesn't he?
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. He's all over. He does everything. 7, Tom Mack. Yeah. Absolute gentleman of the game. But he did like a train. Such a heavy tackler. I don't think I've ever met in my life. Number 8. I couldn't really go much further than yourself, John.
I'll give you that 5 when I see you, mate.
I'll hold you to it as well. You had the ability, you had the aggression, you carried the game. Your rugby brain was spot on, and you didn't have a bad kicking game either. So I'll give you that one.
Thank you.
Moving on into the backs then. 9, there was only one choice. Crack. Absolute superstar of the game. He'd have been, God, he'd have been about 50 when I played my first open age game. He just said to me this one day, the whole play was right in the middle of the pitch. He said, just stay on the touchline, just stay there. And he threw that backdoor pass that his little specialty right into my arms. It was a walk in, absolutely brilliant. And then obviously played in his last game with him as well when he was 70. So can't knock it.
Oh, good start. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. 10 was a struggle really because there's a few, and for different reasons. Like I say, Winnow being in there purely and utterly for that pass to Arge that I don't think Arge's ribs have ever recovered from still.
It was lovely that.
Yeah, I think for that reason that he would be my choice. But the other two, like mentions behind it, I don't think you can look past Kev Leddy. Putting his body on the line, club captain. Even if you turn around to Kev tomorrow and when he was playing club captain, you're playing in the thirds, he'd play. There'd be no airs and graces. He'd put his boots on and he'd put a job in for everybody. And then the only other one who was in the back of my mind, just because he was a joy to watch him when he was on it, was Maffey. His ability with the ball and the game was just fantastic. He's got a hat-trick in trainers, didn't he, for the thirds in muddy conditions.
He's just not that.
Yeah. But I think overall my choice there is Winnow, just for that pass to Arch. Obviously, come to the wing, got to put myself in there. Captain and goal kicker.
Where would you rather be, 11 or 14? So which is 14 left?
11's left, I think.
Is it?
14 right, yeah. I've always preferred 11. Prefer that. Mainly because you get more of the ball, because people tend to be able to pass that way.
That way, yeah.
But yeah, I've loved life out there. 12, put Matty Riley in. Again, another one of the Rileys, superstar player. You look at what he's achieved, the players he's played with. Mate, we grew up playing with him, and obviously he was always destined for bigger and better things. But what a player! You couldn't leave him out. His partner in the centre. This was a player I loved playing outside of, Ryan Millington. He just had a whole range of natural ability. Another one, hard as nails while he was playing, wouldn't shy away from anything. But his playing style always seemed to bring out the best in me. There's not many games that I played outside him where I didn't score. Off a kick from him, off a pass from him, whatever it be, he brought the best out of me as a player when I've played alongside him. So couldn't miss him out. The other winger, Gav Hatton, just because he's got the best high-speed sidestep I've ever seen. He'd be full tilt at someone and he'd just do 90 degrees and disappear and smoke them. There was a couple of options with this one and similar reasons. Smigger, he was unreal, the ability in them as a player. So he was a notable mention. And then the fullback, the Riley hat trick, we picked Andy in there because again, he's got that, the Riley genes, he's got that ability, the game management, the knowledge, the speed, the passing range. He just had it all in terms of the playing style with him. One of them horrible people who's good at everything he turns his hand to sports-wise.
I know, and just doesn't look asked about it either, does he?
No, just that easy for a minute, just like, oh,
yeah.
I don't have to put the effort in like the rest of us.
Yeah. And do you know what, though? He trained the house down, wouldn't he? Like,
oh, yeah.
He wouldn't miss
100%.
training, but like...
Well, they've all been the same, the Rileys, again, from their example from their dad down. You put the work in, you train. There's no superstars with them. None of them have got that high and mighty attitude. They're all humble. They're all good. Put the effort in and do the job. But yeah, going through it, I mean, obviously, I named multiple players at different positions there. I probably could have picked the second 15 and probably just equally as good.